The date was September 18th. Location: Falcon Ridge Air Base, one of the country's largest annual military aviation demonstrations. The featured aircraft was a fictional F-16C Fighting Falcon, meticulously maintained by one of the Air Force's most experienced demonstration teams. The forecast promised nearly perfect conditions. Visibility stretched for miles. Scattered clouds floated above 12,000 feet. Winds remained light. More than 65,000 spectators packed the viewing areas. Families arrived carrying folding chairs. Children clutched toy fighter jets. Photographers waited with cameras pointed toward the runway. Behind the scenes, over 400 military personnel prepared for another routine performance. Or so they believed. Leading today's demonstration was Captain Emily Carter, a veteran instructor pilot with more than 2,300 flight hours. She had flown combat deployments, instructor missions, and countless demonstration flights. Her safety observer for the routine was Major Daniel Hayes, another experienced fighter pilot responsible for monitoring the aircraft and assisting in emergencies. To the public, Emily was simply the star performer. To everyone on the base, she was known by another name: Ghost Rider. No one explained why. No one dared ask. Scene 1: a pilot like any other. Narration: At 7:15 that morning, Emily stepped out of operations carrying a flight helmet tucked beneath her arm. She greeted mechanics by name. She laughed with young cadets. She signed posters for children visiting the flight line. Nothing about her suggested the burden she carried. Her calm smile had become legendary across the squadron. Even under pressure, she never appeared nervous. But those who had served beside her knew something different. Emily wasn't fearless. She had simply learned to hide her fear better than anyone else. Pilot dialogue. Crew Chief: Morning, Captain. Emily: Morning, how's she looking today? Crew Chief: Ready to steal the show. Emily smiling: Let's make sure she brings us both home. The crew chief paused for just a moment. It was an unusual thing to say before an air show. Technical explanation: Before every demonstration flight, pilots complete a detailed walk-around inspection, checking control surfaces, landing gear, fuel systems, and the aircraft's exterior for any sign of damage. Even a tiny defect can become dangerous during high-performance maneuvers. Suspense ending. As Emily climbed the boarding ladder, a maintenance technician quietly stared at the tail number. His expression suddenly changed. Scene 2: the aircraft inspection. Narration: The crew chief slowly circled the aircraft one final time. Everything matched the maintenance log. Hydraulic lines looked clean. Tires showed no unusual wear. The engine intake was spotless. Yet something bothered him. He couldn't explain it. Sometimes, years of experience create instincts stronger than any checklist. He looked toward Emily. She had already settled into the cockpit, running through the startup sequence with practiced precision. He almost spoke, then stopped himself. Maybe he was imagining things. Pilot dialogue. Crew Chief: Captain. Emily looked down. Crew Chief: Nothing, have a good flight. Emily nodded. See you after the show. ATC dialogue. Ground control. Ghost Rider, taxi clearance available. Contact when ready. Emily: Ghost Rider ready to taxi. For a brief moment, the controller hesitated before responding. Technical explanation: Air show aircraft undergo inspections that are often even more rigorous than standard operational flights, because of the extreme stresses created during aerobatic maneuvers. Suspense ending. The controller finally answered, but there was something unusual in his voice. Scene 3, taxi to the runway. Narration. The F-16 rolled slowly across the concrete taxiway. Spectators waved from behind security barriers. Children covered their ears as the engine's deep roar echoed across the base. Everything appeared perfectly routine. Inside the tower, however, controllers watched Ghost Rider's progress with unusual attention. Not because of today's flight, because of what had happened years before. Pilot dialogue. Emily. Flight controls checked. Major Hayes. Instruments normal. Emily. Engine parameters stable. Hayes. Looks like we're ready. ATC dialogue. Tower. Ghost Rider, hold short runway 27. Emily. Holding short 27. Technical explanation. Taxiing may seem simple, but it is a critical phase where pilots verify flight controls, engine performance, navigation systems, and communications before takeoff. Suspense ending. As the aircraft stopped at the hold line, an operations vehicle sped toward the control tower with its emergency lights flashing. No explanation was given. Scene 4 cleared for takeoff. Narration. The massive General Electric engine settled into a low growl as Captain Emily Carter eased the throttle forward. Thousands of spectators lined the flight line, cameras raised, waiting for the first roar of the afternoon. For them, this was entertainment. For the pilots in the control tower, it was another demonstration flight. Or at least, it was supposed to be. Emily glanced one last time across the cockpit. Every instrument appeared normal. Fuel pressure. Normal. Hydraulic systems. Normal. Oil temperature. Perfect. She took a slow breath. Every demonstration pilot knew that the first few seconds after takeoff demanded absolute focus. There was no room for distraction. No room for mistakes. Pilot dialogue. Emily. Final checks complete. Major Daniel Hayes. Flight controls free and correct. Emily. Engine stable. Hayes. Looks good. Emily smiled beneath her oxygen mask. Let's give them a show. ATC dialogue. Tower. Ghost Rider, runway 27, wind 280 at 6 knots. A brief pause followed. The controller's voice sounded strangely hesitant. Ghost Rider, you're cleared for takeoff. Emily. Cleared for takeoff, Ghost Rider. Technical explanation. Before every fighter takeoff, pilots perform one final scan of critical engine instruments. A problem discovered before leaving the runway can often prevent a far more dangerous emergency in the air. Suspense ending. Emily advanced the throttle into afterburner. Flames erupted behind the aircraft. The crowd erupted in cheers. None of them noticed the worried expression on the tower supervisor's face. Scene 5 into the sky. Narration. The fighter accelerated with breathtaking force. 100 knots. 150. 180. At exactly the calculated rotation speed. Emily gently pulled back on the control stick. The nose lifted. Seconds later, the aircraft separated from the runway. The crowd applauded as Ghost Rider climbed almost vertically into the blue sky. It looked effortless. But inside the cockpit, Emily never stopped scanning her instruments. Years of experience had taught her that trouble often appears when everything seems perfect. Pilot dialogue. Hayes. Positive rate. Emily. Gear up. The landing gear folded smoothly into the fuselage. Hayes, everything looks good. Emily nodded. So far. ATC dialogue. Tower. Ghost Rider radar contact. Emily. Roger. Crowd reaction. Children pointed excitedly toward the sky. Parents recorded every second on their phones. Veteran pilots smiled. The routine was beginning exactly as planned. Technical explanation. During the initial climb, pilots verify that the aircraft is accelerating normally, retract the landing gear, and monitor engine performance closely. Most mechanical problems reveal themselves within the first few minutes after takeoff. Suspense ending. At 3,000 feet, a maintenance technician watching through binoculars suddenly lowered them. What was that? No one answered. Scene 6, the perfect performance. Narration. Ghost Rider rolled gracefully across the sky. Each maneuver flowed into the next with remarkable precision. The aircraft climbed vertically before pivoting into a graceful hammerhead turn. The crowd gasped. Every movement looked perfectly timed. Emily's breathing remained calm. Every control input was deliberate. Every maneuver reflected thousands of hours of practice. But then, as she leveled the aircraft at high speed, a tiny amber warning light blinked. Only once. Then it disappeared. Emily frowned. Most pilots might have ignored it. She didn't. Pilot dialogue. Emily. Daniel, did you catch that? Hayes. Generator caution. Emily nodded. It flashed. It cleared immediately. Hayes looked at the electrical display. Everything's reading normal now. Emily continued flying. But her attention had changed. ATC dialogue. Show control. Ghost Rider excellent pass. Crowd loves it. Emily. Copy. Her voice remained calm. Inside the cockpit. She wasn't smiling anymore. Technical explanation. Electrical warning lights can sometimes be caused by temporary sensor glitches. However, they can also signal the beginning of generator failures, wiring problems, or overheating components. Experienced pilots never ignore unexplained warnings. Suspense ending. The warning light stayed off for nearly 2 minutes. Then, it flashed again. Scene 7, a name from the past. Narration. While Ghost Rider climbed for the next maneuver. Inside the operations building, a young lieutenant finally asked the question no newcomer dared to ask. Why does everyone go quiet when someone says Ghost Rider? The room fell silent. An older colonel slowly looked toward the television monitor, showing Emily's live performance. He sighed, because that name wasn't earned during an air show. It came from a mission we almost lost. Years earlier, Emily and another pilot had disappeared during a violent night training exercise over the mountains. For 18 terrifying minutes, neither aircraft appeared on radar. Controllers believed both had crashed. Then, one signal returned. Only one. Emily landed safely. Her wingman never did. The controller who reacquired her radar target had spoken words that echoed throughout the squadron. Ghost Rider, radar contact. The name remained forever. Not as a badge of honor, but as a reminder. Pilot dialogue flashback. Controller. Ghost Rider, if you hear this, respond. Static. More static. Then, Emily. Ghost Rider copies. Relief flooded the control room. But another aircraft never answered. Technical explanation. Military call signs often begin as jokes or memorable moments. Sometimes, they become permanent reminders of missions that changed lives forever. Suspense ending. Back in the present, Emily looked at the same stretch of sky where she had once nearly disappeared. She whispered quietly, "Not again." At that exact moment, a second caution light illuminated, ending. Narration. The aircraft touched down safely after one of the most intense emergency recoveries ever witnessed at the air show. Emergency crews surrounded the jet as Emily climbed out, exhausted but unharmed. The crowd, unaware of how close disaster had come, erupted into applause. In the days that followed, investigators found that a hidden electrical fault had caused intermittent generator failures, leading to smoke in the cockpit and multiple system warnings. Emily's quick decisions, disciplined training, and refusal to ignore the first caution light prevented a tragedy. The call sign Ghost Rider no longer represented only a painful memory. It became a symbol of resilience, professionalism, and the courage to stay calm when every second matters. Final message. In aviation, experience saves lives, but discipline saves even more. Every checklist, every warning, and every decision matters. Because sometimes the difference between disaster and a safe landing is a pilot who refuses to give UPHE Sky rewards skill, but it never forgives complacency.